All right. So, you send over that article about how immigration attorneys are getting ready for 2025.
Yeah.
And, it's really fascinating stuff. I mean, we're not, immigration lawyers or anything,
Right.
but like what we want to do today is really pull out those key insights,
Yeah.
the things that
Absolutely.
could be useful for anybody, no matter what you're working on.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, you're getting this peek behind the curtain of this really complex profession, but you're seeing these universal principles that are at play.
Yeah, exactly. And while we're going to be looking at this through the lens of, immigration law,
Right.
the strategies that they're talking about, things like making complex stuff clear,
Yeah.
attracting amazing talent, getting your message out there, working smarter, and, really focusing on the individual.
Yeah.
These are challenges and opportunities that come up in just about every field.
Oh, absolutely. And, that first one, like simplifying complexity.
Yeah.
The source we were looking at, really hammered home how important this is for immigration lawyers
Yeah.
to take these like incredibly dense, legal processes
Oh, yeah.
and make them understandable for clients.
Absolutely.
Right. We're talking about like using plain language,
Yeah.
not a wall of legalese.
Right.
And like laying out clear timelines so people aren't just left wondering what's going on.
Exactly.
And it made me think, that resonates so much with what you're into, which is like
Yeah.
really grasping a topic
Mm.
quickly but thoroughly.
Yeah.
Right. When someone can take something super complex and distill it down,
Right.
it's like they have a superpower.
It is. And think about it. How often do you run into, some field, whether it's a new piece of software
Oh,
you're
yeah.
trying to learn, or,
Yeah.
some financial report you have to review, or even just
Right.
putting together, some furniture,
Yeah.
IKEA instructions,
Yeah.
it's the jargon and the convoluted explanations
Yeah.
that create friction. What's so key here and what the source really highlights is that when a professional, in any field,
Yeah.
really prioritizes clarity,
Yeah.
it does way more than just inform her. It actually builds confidence.
That's so true.
When you understand the steps involved, you know what to expect, the time frame.
Yeah.
You feel so much more, secure and in control.
Absolutely.
And it brings up an interesting question for you to think about.
Okay.
Think about a time that you felt really overwhelmed by complexity.
Okay.
What could that person or that system that was explaining it have done differently to make it clearer for you?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think it often comes down to empathy,
Right.
like actually putting yourself in the shoes of the person who
Yeah.
doesn't, live and breathe that topic every day.
Exactly.
Now, the material also talked about attracting global talent.
Yes.
And they specifically mentioned visas, like the O1,
Right.
which is for people with, extraordinary ability.
Yeah.
The global talent visas in the UK and Australia,
Yeah.
and the EU blue card.
Yeah. Interesting.
So these are all pathways for like really highly skilled professionals, often in like tech and science.
Yeah.
And for immigration attorneys, one of their key strategies is to become known as like the go-to expert in these specific categories.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And what's so fascinating here is this underlying principle of specialization.
Right.
In a competitive landscape.
Yeah.
It's like any field, the more targeted your expertise is, the more valuable you become for that specific need.
Absolutely.
So for you listening to this,
Yeah.
this highlights how global the marketplace for skills and knowledge really is.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
These visa categories aren't just like bureaucratic hurdles.
Yeah.
They represent these deliberate efforts by countries to bring in the best and brightest,
Yeah.
to drive innovation and growth.
Absolutely.
So whether you're like an entrepreneur looking to hire the best people, or maybe you're thinking about working abroad,
Right.
or even if you're just like curious about global economic trends,
Yeah.
understanding these pathways gives you this valuable perspective on where different countries are focusing their efforts.
It does. It paints a really interesting picture of
Yeah.
this world that's actively seeking specific skills.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, the next thing they emphasized was creating valuable content,
Okay.
which is something that, we're clearly big fans of.
Of course.
The idea is for these attorneys to build up their practices
Yeah.
by sharing their expertise
Right.
through things like newsletters, blogs, even podcasts.
Makes sense.
The goal is to establish themselves as authorities in the field, reach a wider audience who might need their services,
Yeah.
and stay top of mind.
Right.
And this really speaks to what you were talking about earlier about wanting to get up to speed on a topic quickly and efficiently.
Absolutely.
When an expert in any field takes the time to create this clear, informative content, it's such a shortcut for the rest of us who are trying to learn.
Huge shortcut.
Think about the content creators or the professionals that you find most helpful.
Yeah.
What is it about their approach that really works for you? Often it's about anticipating your questions,
Yes.
breaking things down into manageable chunks,
Right.
and just consistently providing value.
Yeah.
So they're essentially building trust and authority by being proactive with their knowledge.
Yeah. I like that.
It's not just about waiting for people to find you.
Right.
It's about being a guide.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the source talked about how these law firms can become more efficient through virtual support.
Interesting.
And this includes things like using virtual assistants and even offshore teams to handle a lot of that administrative burden. So things like prepping documents, managing case files,
Right.
even handling some of those initial client communications. And the big benefits there are potential cost savings and the ability to offer support 24/7.
Makes sense.
So if we kind of zoom out and look at the bigger picture,
Yeah.
this reflects a broader trend of how businesses are adapting
Right.
to, this digital age we live in.
The digital age, yeah.
It's about using technology and a globalized workforce to optimize operations and really improve that service delivery.
For sure.
So for you listening,
Yeah.
this can be valuable whether you're thinking about your own productivity,
Okay.
how your company operates,
Right.
or just observing how different industries are evolving.
Yeah.
What are those tasks in your work that are repetitive and time-consuming
Yeah.
that could be streamlined or maybe even outsourced
Right.
to free up resources for more strategic stuff?
Yeah. I mean, it's all about working smarter, not harder, right?
Exactly. Okay, so the last thing that this article really emphasized was the importance of providing personalized client experiences. And in the context of immigration law, which can be so stressful and personal
Of course.
for individuals and families, this means showing empathy, keeping clients informed with regular updates,
Right.
and tailoring advice to their specific circumstances.
Yeah.
And this, in turn, leads to stronger relationships and more referrals.
Makes sense.
What's key here is this principle that even in fields that are,
Yeah.
highly regulated and complex, that human element is still crucial.
It really is. Yeah.
It just reinforces that idea that no matter what your profession is, understanding and responding to individual needs
Yeah.
is fundamental to building trust
Absolutely.
and lasting connections.
So important.
And for you listening, this probably resonates with your own experiences.
Right.
As someone who's, looking for information or services,
Yeah.
when you feel like your specific needs are being understood and addressed, it makes a huge difference.
Huge.
Personalization isn't just like a nice to have. It's often the foundation of a positive and effective interaction.
Absolutely.
So to kind of bring it all together,
Yeah.
the strategies we've explored today for immigration attorneys as they look ahead to 2025
Yeah.
really center on making the complex understandable,
Yeah.
strategically attracting, that specialized global talent, using content to build authority and reach,
Yep.
boosting efficiency through virtual support,
Yeah.
and really focusing on that personalized client experience.
Oh, great points.
And the really powerful takeaway here
Yeah.
is that while these are rooted in the specifics of immigration law,
Right.
the core principles like clarity, targeted expertise,
Yeah.
proactive communication, efficiency personalization,
Yeah.
they're incredibly versatile.
They are.
They're like these lenses that you can use to examine your own approaches to navigating complexity,
Yeah.
building your expertise, sharing knowledge,
Absolutely.
optimizing your work,
Yep.
fostering stronger connections in your own world.
It's all connected.
So as you think about this deep dive,
Yeah.
here's a final question for you to consider.
Okay.
What's one area in your life or your work where you could consciously apply one of these principles?
Right.
Maybe it's simplifying a process.
Yeah.
Maybe it's being more proactive about sharing some knowledge. Maybe it's thinking about a more personalized approach
Right.
that could lead to some surprising positive outcomes.
Yeah. I love that.
So take a moment to think about that. Thanks for exploring this with us.
Thanks for having me.